Hello, everyone, and welcome to 101 Great Goals here on our YouTube channel. And you may be wondering, we haven't posted in 2 years. What is this? What's going on? Who is this other man on the other side of the screen? Well, all will be revealed. So we're relaunching our video content. And my name is George. I'm going to be one of the presenters here on 101. And we've got a new series to bring to you called Talking Points. You may have seen it on social media as well. So we're going to be talking through the biggest talking points within football over the past week, and we've asked you, the fans, to get in touch and to provide us with some opinions so that we can discuss it. And it's not just going to be me, it's going to be different video content creators every week. And this week, delighted to have Ross Chanley from Redmen TV, bigger than this whole channel. Ross is amazing. Ross, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Thanks for having me. I'm very fortunate to be the first in 2 years. It makes me feel very special. Thanks.
Well, I thought we need someone like really up there, you know, a big key player. Chris MD said no, so we've got.
Okay, yeah, okay. It sounds, yeah. There's a big list, and I was down at the bottom. I get it.
Well, luckily for you, there's no Liverpool game to talk about this week because they are playing tonight. So you know, there's no misery. There's no going back over the horrible stuff that's happened on the pitch. We're going to talk about other teams' misery, Ross, and this might be a nice little welcome break for you. So we did ask, like I say, you to get in contact with us via our social media. And if you do want to get in contact for next week's episode on Sunday, get in touch with us on Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, anything really, and we shall discuss your points. So the first one was from Gooner Talk. Obviously, the North London derby was yesterday, Arsenal winning 2-1. And Gooner Talk said, considering today's result, current squads, young players, managers, etc., who do you think is in the strongest position to progress over the next couple of seasons, Arsenal or Spurs? And that is a very, very interesting question, because the more you think about it, the more the answer's not really there. I mean, for me, Mikel Arteta is a good young manager who plays great football. On the other hand, you've got Jose Mourinho, who's a serial winner but hasn't done it in the last couple of years. So, Ross, who do you think, just judging off that question, is in the best place to progress?
That's a tough question, that, isn't it? Because if you look at it on the sides, on paper, you'd have to say Spurs. You know, likes of Harry Kane, Son, Lucas Moura. Maybe not Dele Alli, but you know they've got a good, well-experienced squad in there in Spurs. Whereas Arsenal, I understand they're going through a transition, so things will be kind of up and down for them. He's had the big overhaul in the summer, even in January as well. To some extent, they got rid of like a load of players, load of dead blood. The likes of Mustafi and Socrates, all them kind of went out. So they've had to take 2 steps back still, but in the experienced manager. But you know, look at the likes of Saka, Smith Rowe. You know, Martinelli, they've got some really good players in there at Arsenal. So I think I probably have to edge towards Arsenal, to be fair. I think it's close. But I think, you know, not just based on yesterday's result, but I think if you look at the direction in which the two teams are going currently, because Spurs should be doing better than they are, shouldn't they?
100%. I mean, for me, COVID has struck a lot of teams this season. I think Arsenal have been struck quite hard. They seem to be doing quite poorly in terms of financials. They have to get a lot of players off the books, a lot of probably deadwood as well, which was probably a bonus for them at the same time. Tottenham just invested a lot of money into a new stadium, so maybe the two aren't the best in terms of financial power. But Tottenham, if they don't win anything this season, are they in danger of losing Harry Kane? Because if Harry Kane goes through his career without ever winning a trophy, that seems like an opportunity missed for him.
Who's going to buy him? Who can afford him? How much is he going to cost? Well, what's going to
He's going to cost a lot. He's going to cost a lot, isn't he? There's only a select few clubs that can afford him. You'd probably say.
Yeah, you probably look at Man City situation. This summer they need a striker. You know better than that. I know it looks like Aguero's out the door on his way to Barcelona.
I am a Man City fan, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
To allude to what he's saying.
You're trying to keep that quiet.
Well, I was just trying to keep the hate out of the comments for the first episode at least.
You've only been a Man City fan for 5 years anyway. You know, and then you look at Manchester United. Would you go there as well? They probably got the financial back, and there's only limited clubs that will be able to go and buy him, but they need to appeal to Harry Kane. I think they need to challenge for a title as well. So obviously Man City will be doing it. Will Manchester United be doing it next season? Remains to be seen. But Spurs need to keep hold of him. you know, I'm not I'm not his biggest fan, but I respect that how good a football he is. You know, and he's probably one of the shining lights. Particularly, he's developed his role. He's changed. He's dropped back a bit deeper. His rapport with Son is incredible. I know Son's injured now, but you know, he's one of the bright sparks in a negative Spurs side for me.
He is. He's a fantastic player, and he's world class. His numbers don't lie. But I think if I was Harry Kane, would I just be happy with being the best goal scorer, or would I be happy with, you know, putting a few trophies to your name as well? Because ultimately, do you know when he's on matches a day in 30 years' time, his only graphic is going to be second highest top scorer in the Premier League, or you're going to be sat next to
scored 3 against Panama.
yeah, exactly. Or is it going to be he's won three Premier Leagues, or he's won a Champions League? You know, those are the type of things that players love to put the name to.
They do, but everybody's different, George. So, you know, he might be dead content with playing at Spurs, being that idol there. You know, that's the club that he loves. If he goes somewhere else, you know, I think Steven Gerrard had this when he could have gone to Chelsea, and he's like winning a title. I know he didn't win a title. I know you're smirking, but like winning trophies.
He won the Champions League.
Yeah, winning trophies at Chelsea wouldn't have felt the same as doing it at Liverpool. And you know, we don't see those footballers very often, so I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If he doesn't win a trophy, to us as fans, we go, well, that's what you have to hang out on his trophies and your medals, and you look back and he'll say the same thing. But if he had 15 good years at Spurs and he enjoyed it and his family are happy, then you know what I mean? It's different things are important to people.
Yeah, I understand. He's probably
but he'll get used for social media like slander for next, like Gerrard has never won a Premier League title. Doesn't matter.
He's won a league title now, anyway. But yeah, I understand the point that you're making exactly. I mean, Gerrard did try to move at least, so there's that. But going back to the actual question then, which was who is better placed, Arsenal or Spurs? I don't know what it is for me. Is that Jose Mourinho? I absolutely love the guy, and I absolutely think he is a fantastic manager. But I can't help but feel he's a little bit toxic now, and his tactics are a little bit dated. And that's why, for me, I do feel that Arsenal are better placed with Mikel Arteta. I know that they're 10th at the moment, but it's a big rebuilding job. And I honestly do think he's the right man to do it as well.
Yeah, I think Arsenal fans are getting on board with him as well, you know, and I think they're understanding of that transitional period. You know, getting Mesut Ozil off the books was like a massive cloud hanging over Arsenal Football Club, and I think that's where they'll fall short. Now, I've used this comparison a few times, and particularly for Liverpool, because I understand it, but you need to have your owners, your board, your manager, your players, and your fans all on the same page to be a successful football club. And I think there's one or two for Arsenal, but I don't think the board or the owners are liked very much at Arsenal. And obviously the fans can be quite toxic as well, which, you know, has an effect on things. So maybe, you know, they've benefited from not having fans inside stadiums, you know, because that happens to the club. And equally for Spurs, you know, maybe Mourinho's benefited from not having fans inside stadiums because he can play his turgid, depressing, negative football way, can't he? Because there's no fans on his back to tell him any different. And, you know, it works in some games, it doesn't work in others. But, you know, Spurs just need to improve in a lot of areas. Now, I mentioned a few players that I really like. Højbjerg, I think, has been a great buy. And Dombele's been a great buy. God knows why they bought Gareth Bale, because he hardly seems to play. And I think he played 59 minutes yesterday and he came off. But he's shown in the past 2-3 weeks of how good he can actually be. So maybe, you know, it's just Mourinho being negative, I think, for me.
Yeah, that's exactly how I would feel about it. So I think we're both saying Arsenal there. Let us know in the comments what you think. We're going to have to move on to the next point, Ross, which was from Nick. And what a win for Man United. Does it all but confirm a top 4 spot? Of course, what a win, I'd say, is a little bit of a stretch. You know, they did beat West Ham, who were a very, very good side.
Good beat.
Yeah, United do seem to lack some consistency, but confirming a top 4 spot for them, do you think it's all but a given now?
Yeah. Do we have to talk about Manchester United as a Liverpool?
We do, mate. We do. This is about all clubs. You knew what you were signing up for when you came.
I know. Yeah, I'd like to think there's 10 games to go, isn't there? Or nine for some clubs, but it's still, you know, 27, 30 points kind of up for grabs. But you have to say, you know, the way that they're performing. In fact, they're not performing very well in a lot of games, but they're getting results. Now, Liverpool did that for most of last season, and we won the title. I know everyone gave them credit for it, so I think at some level and some respect, you have to say, yeah, well done to Manchester United for being able to do that and drag out wins, you know, even after the full-time whistle in some games. West Ham are a good side, and they dug deep. They played midweek against AC Milan and kind of got a draw there. I think that'll be the biggest test for United. If they can get through against AC Milan, then how do they cope with playing another, just like an extra round in the Europa League, isn't there? And kind of dealing with that towards the business end of the season, where the likes of Leicester have kind of dropped off and other clubs don't have Europe to contend with. More fatigue setting in the latter stages of that. But I can't see them dropping out the top four at all, if I'm being honest. As much
No,
as
I think I'm the same as well. I don't think United can drop out of the top four because I think every other team around them just isn't on Manchester United's level. And it's not in the fact that Manchester United have got a better squad than, say, Liverpool or Chelsea. I just think with the current season, how it's panned out, I think United, to be fair to them, have been the second best team in the league. And in terms of results and how they've performed, it's going to be a tricky season for them next season, possibly. Chelsea are going to come cool. We've already seen Thomas Tuchel's doing fantastic work with them. I can already guarantee Liverpool are going to be back up there when you get key players back, and it's essential probably that players who are coming back don't go to the Euros, and that seems like it's not going to happen. So Liverpool next season, fire in the belly, you'd almost guarantee they're going to be in the top four. So Man United really need to improve for me next season, and there is rumours that they're going to be handing Ole Gunnar Solskjaer a new contract. When we broke that news, Abdor said simply sacking Ole and his backroom staff and also Maguire is the only way that Manchester United can move forward. He's still got his critics, hasn't he? But in my opinion, Ole's done quite well with United. What do you feel about him getting a new contract? Are you happy as an opposition fan, or are you actually worried that he could be building something there?
I'm going to have to eat my own words because I've slated him for quite a few months, possibly even a few years, according to a PE teacher and being inexperienced. That, but again, hats off and credit to him. He's improved some plays. Like Fred, started to become a footballer now. Luke Shaw, other players. That was my criticism.
Roberto Carlos to you. All right.
Oh yeah, sorry. Can he improve those sorts of players? Can he get rhythm going, consistency? And he kind of has done that. I think they do have the faults, but they're a team that's kind of growing together. I think it's a belief going. Confidence is a massive thing in football, and they seem to have that in their locker. You can say it's kind of luck, or they kind of scrape past a few teams, but they've done it. I think they know they can improve quite a bit in a lot of areas. But in terms of Ole, I have to say fair play to him, probably, to be honest. I think even though I have his critics, I think the only thing with him is, can he attract the better players to go to Manchester United? Now, I've made this comparison a few times as well, like kind of get Jadon Sancho, and I think certain people were adamant that he was going to Manchester United. If I'm a footballer, especially like Jadon Sancho, I'm looking at Pep Guardiola, I'm looking at Jurgen Klopp, I'm looking at Ancelotti, some phenomenal managers just in the Premier League alone. They've got a track record of improving players over a longer period. Can they do that? Has Ole got that? Not really. It's only negative for me. And I'm kind of says, to Manchester United fans, he's this big, massive hero, and I kind of get that. And it's Barcelona in '99, all that stuff. But like Jadon Sancho wasn't born, and he doesn't care who Solskjaer is. He'd be looking at his track record and going, what have you won as a manager? And for me, if I was a footballer, I'd be looking at those managers and go like, I want to play. I want to learn from the best and work for the best. And I don't think he's in that category yet, which I think might, we could argue the other way, but I think it might, hinder them from some transfers.
Erling Haaland, if you want to come to Manchester City, mate, I'll bring you. I'll get me Hyundai. I will drive to Germany. I will defy lockdown. No one should defy lockdown rules, but I will pick him up. Unbelievable footballer. But yes, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer looking like he's going to get a new contract. It's probably the start of a good period for Manchester United, I feel, as much as it pains me to say it.
Sorry, George, who's out there, though? And that's the other thing as well. Who's out there that they could replace him with? There's a project, and I think that's the other thing that he's proved. Like, Chelsea did this. Lampard, I think, was a bit of a scapegoat for Chelsea. Just get someone in, a bit of a stopgap. Manchester United, he's probably the best manager they've had since Fergie left on form. Not in terms of background. So they've got something sustainable there. Why would they go and change that?
Elsewhere in the football, Ross, Chris Wilder.
I'll give him the United job. Give it to him. He'll do it.
Yeah, Chris Wilder's available. Yeah. Some say he was sacked. Some say it was a mutual agreement. Some say he left. Warboss said, so sad. I feel for him. He has done so much to get them from League One to the Premier League. And I think that is a big thing, isn't it? To think about. Is loyalty dead in football? Because we've seen that at Liverpool, that loyalty is maybe still there, because maybe some teams would have got rid of Jurgen Klopp. Some fans definitely called to get rid of Jurgen Klopp, which was, ridiculous in itself. But at other clubs like Chelsea, Klopp could have been gone. There's no loyalty there at all. Wilder's done fantastic. Seems a bit strange to leave it till this late at the end of the season, where it doesn't look like they can survive. And someone who is proven to bring them up from the Championship, they've now parted ways with. And I think he's definitely got a case to feel hard done by there.
Yeah, totally agree. On the Jurgen Klopp stuff, I think, like I said before, myself, people are in here, and probably people at the club are understanding of what was going on at Liverpool. So Chelsea might have sacked him, but we're decimated by injuries. If he had no injuries and he's put out them results, like, people will question him kind of a lot more. Especially what happened with Lampard, and he had loads of players at his disposal and still couldn't put it together. That's why he went. Chris Wilder's another funny one, because I think there's Liverpool, Leeds, and Sheffield United. They've all been decimated by injuries, and the Leeds and Sheffield United stuff will be news to people, because they were not title challenges, basically. No, that sounds quite arrogant, but it's gone on the radar. Sheffield United have just been ruined by injuries for the first half of that season, which is why they didn't get off to a good start. It just seems strange to leave it so late, like you said. Normally you get to kind of Christmas period, January, you kind of reassess it, especially when the window's open. Do we take a gamble? Do we take a gamble and keep him, or do we just say, "Oh, okay, now it's time for a change"? I'm guessing just tension's just got too much. He's probably annoyed. They're stuck in a rut. Confidence is probably low. I do question some of the things of whether they actually wanted Ryan Brewster, because they paid a lot of money for Ryan Brewster, and they hardly seem to kind of get a game of football. So, the past couple of months have kind of gone, did Chris Wilder really want him, or was that a board signing? Those things can kind of rub people the wrong way, especially when you're losing. Negativity spreads. So Chris Wilder's not happy, and his players aren't happy, and the board aren't happy, and you're going to work, and everyone's negative, and I know something's got to go and give.
Yeah, because if they're on a good run, they probably say, you know what, I didn't want him, but we're 10th in the league. Come here, you.
Exactly. It's a cuddle, yeah. But you can have those discussions, and that's when, like, yourself, like when you're in relationships, you kind of just say things like, "Well, didn't want Brewster anyway." I'm speculating, by the way. Didn't want him anyway. Things just kind of built up, and I think it was mutual agreement. I quite like Chris Wilder. I've got a lot of respect for him. His story as well. You don't see them very often in football anymore, but loyalty's not existed in football for quite a long time, to be perfectly honest. It's a results-driven business, and again, we bring it back to finances. That's what it comes down to.
Just final point before we go, Ross. Joe Hadley said, scrap VAR entirely. It doesn't work. Nothing really VAR major over the weekend. Champions League last week certainly was. I don't know if you saw the Borussia Dortmund game. Haaland scored, was disallowed, got a penalty, took the penalty, keeper saved it, keeper was off his line, comes back, scores the penalty, shouts at the keeper, job done. But it just takes the sting out of the game, doesn't it? Especially from a fan's perspective.
Yeah, I think it might have been a game that we won. Might have been Sheffield United, actually, that we've
going back
won.
a while.
Go back a few weeks there. And it just got to the point where we were doing watch long commentary, and I think Curtis Jones scored, and I just didn't move. Because in my head I was going, well, I think the ball went out. Yeah, the ball, Trent had crossed the ball, and I thought the ball went out. Just nothing. It's like, football's based on passion and emotion. And, I saw someone put, like, the soul's been taken out of football, and that's exactly the way I describe it, because that's what VAR kind of does. Now, it's not just VAR. I think there's elements of VAR that work. It's just the time that it takes and the idiots that are in charge of it that ruins it for me. You've got all these people that have you can have one situation and you can have three different outcomes to that situation because of the people that are in charge of it. There needs to be clearer laws. They shouldn't be practicing it in Premier League football games either. And then, was there an incident last week or the week before with Fulham? And it's like, oh, it should have been a goal, but from next week that will be a goal now. And it's like, well, it costs Fulham relegation. What you've done there, we saw it happen with was it the beginning of this season as well? One of the first one where the ball went over the line. Yeah, it might have been Sheffield United as well.
And that was Aston Villa last season.
It was just towards.
That's what kept Aston Villa up.
Yeah, and Bournemouth went down because I think it was Bournemouth. But in those situations, that wasn't VAR, that was goal line technology that kind of failed. But these decisions are costing teams, and there's no repercussions. The repercussions are for the football teams and the money it costs them or whatever else. Whereas, my issue's not with VAR, my issue's with the people that kind of run it, and they're all protected. I don't like that. And I think if they were mic'd up, there'd be a great respect between players and referees, because the players have to stop swearing at them. We'd have great respect for referees because we know the decisions that was going on with them, and they'd be able to explain the situation. But for some reason, they don't seem up for it.
I understand that it's an extremely pressurized environment, and referees get a lot of stick, and I understand that is why maybe they wouldn't want to be mic'd up. They wouldn't. I understand why the FA like to keep them in that bubble, because some people would genuinely feed them to the wolves sometimes because of a bad decision. I think it'd have greater transparency with the fans, and I think that is something that fans would enjoy. If you would enjoy that, let us know in the comments. Are you for VAR? Are you against VAR? For me, firmly against it, and I didn't think I would be. But I just, it feels like I'm watching a simulation. It feels like I'm watching, FIFA when I put my pad in the middle and I'm just watching the game play each other. That just feels like what it is.
But would you be happy if, say, Liverpool scored a goal against Man City and there was no VAR and it was offside?
Yeah, I've mulled this over. I would rather have that. I would rather have that. Honestly, would rather have that than waiting for 5 minutes, because as much as it's absolutely devastating, I don't want to be there when Liverpool, like you say, in that scenario that we've just mentioned, Liverpool have scored against us. It shouldn't have stood. But being in the stadium and the atmosphere that it generates, the anger, the joy on the other side, I love it. But waiting for 5 minutes to then confirm a goal and then confirm that you're gutted because the goal stands anyway. I hate it.
You don't get the same release of emotion, do you? When it's just, you wait 5 minutes, go, it's goal. Oh, yeah, okay. Let's move on.
It's like saying, oh, I might have got you a PS5 for Christmas. Wait 5 minutes after I've told you, and then open it, and it's a PS5, and you're like, oh, well, I pretty much already knew it was that anyway. And that's how it feels, honestly.
You got me a PS5 for Christmas, George?
No, no, I have not. You're more into your retro games anyway. But yeah, it just feels like it's the soul, like you say, that's perfect for me. The soul's been taken out of football, and I just hate it. I really do hate it. But to improve it, I fully agree. It's got to be quicker. Maybe have a rugby style implementation where it comes up on the screen. You can see exactly what VAR are doing, because when you're in the stadium, you don't see anything.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other point. If refs are mic'd up, it enriches the experience for the viewer watching it on TV. You're paying £40-50 to watch it in the stadium, and you don't have a clue what's going on. That's, to your point, they're the people that need to know what's going on.
Mike Dean would really cash in on the mic up situation, wouldn't he? He'd start throwing in like songs. He'd start performing. He'd probably sell advertising, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He'd probably sell advertising. He'd be like, oh, you know what? Oh, I really wish I had some links, Africa. I swear. But VAR, for it or against it, it's here to stay, and it can be improved. But I think that's about all we've got time for. I hope everyone watching has enjoyed the first talking points with Ross. Ross, thank you very much for coming on. And if you do want to check Ross out and Redmen TV, they do some fantastic stuff. They've had a brilliant documentary out in the past week as well on the Atletico Madrid game last year. Go and check them out. All those links will be in the description. Just want to say, please subscribe to 101 if you are new around here. We've got some fantastic content lined up for the coming months, and I can't wait to get started on it. But for now, we're starting with talking points, so I hope you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, and send us in your talking points for next week's episode. But until then, thank you again, Ross, and we'll see you next time.